We're starting with Raw, as The Miz became the #1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship, but the finish of this match was odd to say the least. The match ended with a double pinfall, with Miz pinning Bronson Reed while Ivar pinned Ricochet, but while Reed didn't kick out, Ricochet did, seemingly confusing those in the ring. Brian Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that this wasn't the planned finish, which is why the referee tried to stop The Miz from celebrating and stop Miz being announced as the winner. If you watch the match, this was not the planned finish. Like, everyone in the ring is confused. They're all looking around like, what the hell is going on here? The referee is trying to stop The Miz from celebrating and trying to stop the ring announcer from announcing The Miz as the winner. So I'm 99% positive that Ricochet was supposed to be pinned, but he kicked out because he was messed up. Everyone's confused, and the referee makes a deal, and it ends up with Ivar laying out The Miz afterward and destroying him with a giant moonsault and leaving him for dead. The crowd chants, "You suck." Ricochet was let off, and he is in the concussion protocol. On WWE.com, The Miz vs. Gunther was added to Survivor Series, but that page has since been updated, and now the match has no longer been confirmed. Instead, The Miz and Ivar will square off next week after Ivar attacked the A-lister after this week's match, and a stipulation could result in Ivar being added to the Survivor Series match. Ivar has been on the biggest singles run of his career and has impressed those backstage, but what do you make of the awkward situation that unfolded this week? Now, WWE NXT has seen several main roster talents over the past couple of years, but for this month, the Gold brand will have a Hall of Fame quality to the cameos. After Mick Foley announced the Iron Survivor Challenge qualifiers we saw this week, it was revealed that Lita will be on next week's show, and Jerry Lawler will be on NXT later this month. Lawler's health was hit big time when he suffered a stroke, one that has affected his voice, but the fact that he'll soon be making an appearance for NXT is quite the sign that his recovery is going well. The last time fans saw AJ Styles, he was being attacked by the Bloodline, which led to LA Knight replacing him as John Cena's partner at Fastlane. It was previously reported that Styles was going to be returning on the November 10th Smackdown, and now WWE has seemingly spoiled his comeback themselves. On WWE.com, Styles' name is among those being promoted for this Friday's show, alongside the likes of LA Knight, Charlotte Flair, Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and Rey Mysterio. We don't know what Styles will do when he's back, but he'll likely have the Bloodline in his sights, and expect a phenomenal outing when he's back on our screens later this week. Over to NXT, as Lyra Valkyria was ready to make her first address as NXT Women's Champion and earned a "You deserve it" chant from the crowd. The Valkyrie said that she knows she's not the only woman who dreamed of holding the NXT Women's title, teasing an open challenge, and her promo was interrupted by Xia Li. A tense in-ring confrontation resulted in Lyra offering a challenge to Li in a short and sweet segment that made a lot of sense. Li has made it her mission to target Becky Lynch, as we saw on Raw, and what better way to stick it to the man than be targeting her friend and protege. Mere weeks after Lynch passed the torch in NXT to her fellow countrywoman, Li has the chance to dethrone her and cut Lyra's girlhood dream short in what would be a shocking title change. If Li is as physical with Lyra as to that one security guard she knocked the hell out of this week, a title change could happen, even though when their match will take place was not revealed. Ahead of the anticipated Von Wagner vs. Bron Breakker match, a referee emerged from Shawn Michaels' office after being told to use his discretion in relation to the rules. Clearly, HBK wanted the combatants to go all out, and after Breakker's September attack on Wagner left him hospitalized, and after Bron demolished Mr. Stone, a vengeful Wagner was on a mission. The match was physical between the two big men, but it was also short and lacked the same intensity that had taken the feud to the next level earlier this year. Given the raw emotion and hatred that has made up this feud, this match didn't feel like a grand culmination, and the match ended relatively tamely, with Breakker winning off the spear. At least Wagner got a measure of revenge with a table spot, but other than that, what should have been the violent chapter in this blood feud just felt all too normal. Also, we did notice Ava walk into HBK's office during the segment with the referee, and we wonder what she and Shawn Michaels were there to discuss. When Damian Priest captured the Money in the Bank contract in London, many fans were surprised, especially since fan favorite LA Knight was also in the match. Since then, Priest has been a staple on TV and has become a two-time and current undisputed tag team champion, and he's also impressing those behind the scenes. That's according to PW Insider, who report that Priest has been working hard as of late, and that hasn't gone unnoticed by management. There's been a lot of praise lately internally for Damian Priest. The word we heard is that over the last several months, he's really impressed management by how hard and physical he's worked, and for gutting through quite a few times when he's been banged up but kept going. We reported a few months back that he's been seen as a top-level upper echelon talent, and since then, he's won Money in the Bank and continues to get great raves internally. It remains to be seen when Priest cashes in his Money in the Bank contract, and after Sami Zayn thwarted his opportunity at Crown Jewel, Priest will have to be wary of the Canadian. From teaming with Edge to working with Bad Bunny, Damian Priest has been put in plenty of high-pressure roles, and those in WWE have been pleased to see him deliver every single time. Have you been impressed by Damian Priest as of late? And when do you see him cashing in his Money in the Bank contract? Let us know in the comments. Next month will mark 1 year since Mandy Rose's controversial release from WWE, as she's claimed she was never given the chance to shut down her website before being fired. Given the fortune that she's made with her website, Rose hardly needs to step into the ring again to make a living, but we could see her lace up her boots again if the right offer comes around. During a Q&A on Instagram, Rose was asked if she'd consider joining AEW or TNA next year, and said that she doesn't know, but maybe if the right phone call comes around. Joining TNA would certainly be a big acquisition for the company, which are set for big things next year, while becoming All Elite would reunite Rose with her Absolution ally, Saraya. Ultimately, Rose will decide what's best for her, and she doesn't need to take bumps to make money. And what would you like to see from Rose in 2024? Sound off in the comments. It's been close to a decade since CM Punk walked out of WWE, but ever since his very public exit from AEW, rumors continue to circulate that he could be a superstar again. While WWE sources have said it's not happening, and Punk has been telling those close to him he's not coming back at Survivor Series, that hasn't stopped the hype, and WWE's website has added fuel to the rumors. It turns out that CM Punk's profile on WWE.com was updated very recently, within the past 24 hours, and if you read his profile on the site, you'll see nothing but complimentary comments from the company. It's interesting that WWE has chosen now as the right time to update his profile, and when speaking on his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T said he could easily see Punk returning to WWE. Book pointed out that names who were never returning, like the Ultimate Warrior, made their way back, and Booker isn't the only name working at NXT to speak about CM Punk. NXT head Shawn Michaels said he would gladly welcome Punk back, and while WWE and Punk are saying a return isn't coming, isn't that exactly what someone about to make a surprise return would say? More from NXT as the road to Deadline begun with qualifying matches for the Iron Survivor Challenge matches, with Tyler Bate and Dijak trying to earn a spot in the men's match. The match was easily the most hard-hitting bout on the night, and in the end, it was Dijak who scored the win with Feast Your Eyes, earning his spot at the December 9th show. This match really could have gone either way, but with Bate only recently teasing the idea that he feels WWE is passing him up while he's leaning on past accomplishments, this was not the time to wrap that story up. Instead, Bate can stew on this setback, while Dijak will have a high-profile showing at Deadline, an opportunity he has earned given his efforts. A backstage confrontation led to Drew Gulak facing Raw's Otis this week, and fans in Orlando were red hot for the big man, who was perhaps the most over talent not named Lyra Valkyria. Alpha Academy came across as huge stars, a testament to their hard work and the attention Triple H's creative has put into them. It wasn't too long ago that WWE announced that Smackdown would be moving to the USA Network in 2024, which would have put the Blue Brand, Raw, and NXT all on the same network. That was until this week, as the USA Network is not going to keep NXT around, but the Gold Brand has found a new home on the CW Network. Starting in October 2024, the CW will air NXT, marking the first time since the original NXT launched in 2010 on Sci-Fi that the show will be featured on broadcast television. The 5-year deal will include 52 weekly events throughout the season, and in a statement, Nick Khan shared his excitement, saying the CW has made impressive moves over the past year. So how will NXT's move to the CW change things? Well, for the time being, there won't be many changes to the Gold Brand. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that for now, the plan is for NXT to remain on Tuesdays, but said that there will be more conversations as we get closer to the October 2024 launch date. One thing for certain will change is the price NXT is being paid, as CW's 5-year deal is more than double the $15 million a year price tag on their current USA Network contract. That means that the CW will be paying at least $31 million a year for NXT, which is a massive increase, but to be fair, NXT has seen a lot of growth in recent memory. WWE has been very happy with NXT in recent months, especially with the new roster additions and main roster cameos, and hope that continues when the show moves to the CW. From ratings to talent to performances, WWE are happy with NXT, but one group that may not be as thrilled with this upcoming change is the NWA. It was only recently that the NWA reportedly signed TV deals with the CW, but as we reported, that relationship was in flux after the use of what appeared to be cocaine was shown at an NWA event. Sources from the NWA who spoke to Fightful were surprised with the news, with one saying that NXT coming to the CW had blindsided them, given their own reported deal with the broadcaster. WWE does not expect the CW to lock in a deal with the NWA at this point, and it's noted that in addition to a wrestling show, the NWA was pushing for a reality series of some sort. The situation may be bad for the NWA, but it's great for NXT, especially with the show set to be more available than ever before. In a September 2018 study, the USA Network was accessible in approximately 90.4 million households, while the CW deal will increase coverage of NXT nationwide. After a rocky transformation to NXT 2.0, WWE NXT is hitting its stride once more, and expect plenty more people to be tuning in next year when the Gold brand makes the move to the CW. From NXT to NXT Level Up, as the developmental show had a slight change this week, with a double taping featuring this week's episode, and a double taping to happen on November 14th. This is all in preparation to Thanksgiving next week, so the roster can have that time with their loved ones before getting back into the action after the holiday. Earlier this week, it was reported that WWE is interested in NJPW Strong Women's Champion Julia, who is considered a priority signing, but if she does join, it won't be anytime soon. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was explained that she's under contract until March, and unless New Japan made the baffling decision to let one of their champions out so they could join a rival promotion, she'll be sticking around until March 2024. In an NXT Heritage Cup match, Akira Tozawa looked to take the trophy from Noam Dar, but had it not been for outside interference, these two could have torn the house down. Instead, what we got was a perfectly acceptable opener, and once again, Alpha Academy came across as huge stars. A week after being attacked by Tiffany Stratton, Fallon Henley sought revenge, as well as a spot in the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge match that'll take place at Deadline. The familiar foes had a competitive match which Stratton would win, putting her back in line for a future potential NXT Women's Championship shot. Given Stratton's success in her Becky Lynch feud, it makes sense to continue her push, and Henley would probably be in a better position if she were allowed to go solo. Splitting her from Briggs and Jensen would allow her the chance to develop her own personality, as right now, she's the victim of a loaded division that will only get more packed with newer stars. In a backstage segment, Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James had a brief interaction that teased a future partnership, with Stratton uttering, "I don't mind her," and if James joins her in the Iron Survivor Challenge, they could be a formidable duo. In more women's action, Roxanne Perez and Kalani Jordan got the better of Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez, and the match would have benefited from a little more time on the clock. It was a somewhat odd decision for Vice, the winner of the NXT Breakout Women's Tournament, to lose 1 week later, but all four proved that they could hang on this week's show. The issues between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes intensified in the main event of this week's NXT, as Williams took exception to Hayes not having his back when Trick had done just that for so long. Williams admitted that he didn't see exactly who attacked him a few weeks back, and judging by Hayes' reaction, it looked like it could be him, but Lexis King interrupted before things went further. King stirred the pot, which ultimately led to Williams taking a swing at King, but instead accidentally hitting Hayes, and while the two faces embraced to end the show, it's clear that there was distrust between them. It was exactly what King wanted, judging by the mile-wide grin on his face, and this isn't the first time that the second-generation superstar has gotten involved into the mix. Last week, King spoke about doing something bad but refused to elaborate, and judging by his actions this week, it's clear that he could be the perpetrator of the attack on Williams. This is all likely building to a premium live event pitting King against Hayes or Williams, perhaps at Deadline, in what'll be the ex-AEW star's biggest showcase to date. There'd be no better way to learn if King can sink or swim than by putting him in the ring with a couple of sharks who have proved that they can shine bright on the biggest stages. Even if King is revealed as the attacker, the issues between Hayes and Williams could result in a match between them, so fans should keep an eye on just how much the two allies really trust one another. So that was this week's NXT, and those who aren't watching the Gold brand are missing out on the show developing into one of WWE's most consistent properties. It's hardly a surprise that the show is flourishing, given that Shawn Michaels is in charge, and the show has backed off some of the over-the-top stars that hampered progress not too long ago. Sure, some of its wackiness is still there, but the commitment to in-ring action takes precedence, and it's been great to see fans connect with talent and the abundance of women's action. Throw in some more focused booking, and you have a brand that knows what it is, what it wants to do, and gives almost the entire roster something of substance on a regular basis. This broadcast laid the foundation for Deadline, presented Lyra Valkyria as a star, continued the Breakker-Wagner feud, and saw Lexis King immediately establish himself as a primetime player, not bad for 120 minutes with commercials. Throw in teases involving Boa and Dante Chen, as well as Ava Raine daring fans to pay close attention to what goes on behind the focal point segments, and NXT is becoming a must-see, can't-miss show. With massive changes coming to NXT next year, fans will be watching the Gold brand closely, and for as good as this show was, it seems the best is yet to come. Now, TKO Group Holdings is overseen by Vince McMahon, who is the company's executive chairman, but the billionaire's behavior over the years is under some serious scrutiny. It was the hush money scandal that forced McMahon to retire last year, and we all know that this was hardly the first controversy to be tied to him. In a financial filing to the SEC, TKO Group listed some risk factors that could result in legal proceedings, and McMahon's name came up a lot. The filing mentioned McMahon's scandal from last year, the accusations of misconduct, and the special committee made in June of 2022 to investigate the alleged actions of McMahon. The filing also mentioned the $14.6 million it cost to investigate McMahon, as well as an extra $5 million payment McMahon made, resulting in nearly $20 million in previously undisclosed payments. Vince McMahon was once the unquestionable head of WWE, but that just isn't the case anymore, and while Ari Emanuel is glad to have him on board, TKO is keeping a close eye on the chairman. And we're ending with more from TKO, which has held its first earnings conference call, and during the call, an idea was discussed for WWE and UFC events to be held relatively close together. These super weekends would see WWE and UFC pay-per-views be held in the same arena, giving a reason for fans of both companies to flock to one area and possibly pay to see both shows. We'll have to see what the future holds for WWE, who are raking in money in this boom period in the company's history, so it may be a matter of time before these super weekends are a reality.